And we're going to start with Izzy, the privacy lurker. Not my win, but as Discord and shitification is creeping, and I think it's important to mention what they're talking about here. Particularly, people are not happy, let me move over here, about video ads coming to the mobile app in June. Now, I know a lot of people are just, unhappy about the general look, and obviously they've been trying to get some kind of revenue model for a long time now. And we actually made a ditch Discord video years ago where we kind of talked about these concerns of how there's no really business model for Discord that's sustainable for what it does. I boiled down 3 problems with Discord. I very much agree with Izzy, and shitification is very real. Discord has no direct incentive to be necessarily user first. Its incentives lie in being good enough so that people don't get angry with them, but still prioritizing shareholders and any VC funding and anything else that they're trying to prioritize. So really important to get that out of the way, that the actual business model and the motives of the company do not align with giving you the best possible chat experience, even though it's good enough, right? It's good enough for most people to be fine with it for now, but people's friends are getting annoyed about things like video ads. Second issue is privacy, of course. They did roll out, I think, end-to-end encryption in video calls and DMs, I believe. Some kind of very particular, small little slice of end-to-end encryption, but even with end-to-end encryption, there's still going to be a ton of metadata concerns. Discord notoriously is not very email only. Typically, a lot of servers will require you to set it up with a phone number, and there's just a lot of concerns regarding server privacy. You can't just mass delete all your messages very easily. So, and again, Discord's primary business model should make a lot of people raise their eyebrows because it's all very free, and I don't think their Nitro situation is really fueling it. So I'd be very concerned about what data you put on Discord, and I would, if you still use Discord, assume it's all public info or it can be leaked. And I mean, when we used to run a Discord server, I'm not super anti-Discord. We had a Discord server for a long time. We had to deal with so much scraping and weird issues where our private rooms were even exposed on some sites at one point because of some vulnerabilities they had. So just be wary, guys. And then the third thing, this is one that's not really talked about because most of you probably just use Discord, but you don't host your communities on Discord, but it's still important to bring up before I talk about the alternatives and highlight the privacy lurker. The third thing is control. When you have a community, you want to be able to make sure the community is always there, it's always available, accessible, easy to use, and doesn't just disappear someday. With Discord, you never quite have that guarantee because even though they call it a server, it's still through a centralized service that can kind of do whatever they want to your server. So when we used to have a Discord server, something that really frustrated me is that to qualify for certain things that would boost our ratings or boost our accessibility to new users, we had to convince our members to give Discord money and buy Nitro. And if they bought Nitro, they can boost our server and do things to our server, which makes us, and it was just this really weird conflict of interest because it just didn't feel right. And I never felt like we actually owned our Discord server. It always just felt like this account I created on a site where I can upload my thumbnail and just set up my own channels and then people join, but we really don't have access to the community in the way that I think is good. Or, Discord can always just shut down a community it doesn't like. So, but the privacy lurker said their bestie convinced their partner to move to Signal. A good strategy is if you're going to advertise the privacy aspect of Signal to normies is to transition them slowly but give them incentives they can comprehend. Saying it's more private isn't useful to them because many are either uninformed or nihilistic, but telling them this is for intimate photos, venting, politics, passwords, sharing identification, and other sensitive info are always normal things that people can understand why you'd prefer less eyes on those, and this will form habits. Very much agree. So what I'm trying to read between the lines, it doesn't actually sound like Izzy has really got their friends to remove Discord altogether from their lives and move to Signal. It sounds like they've planted seeds, though, to at least get them to a more sensitive place for their most sensitive discussions, which is still a huge win. If these people are talking about really intimate things on a platform that has no privacy, and they're moving those most intimate things to a more private place, that's still a win. And so that's actually the first solution. If you can't convince people on Discord to move to all these other alternatives that I'm about to touch on, at least set up a safe space. And I think this is the most important thing and the best starting point that Izzy's touching on. If you can't convince everyone to move to Signal, at least sell them a safe space. Hey, I understand we're going to stay on this platform, but can we please at least establish a safe space for XYZ? Whatever sensitive conversation you need to talk about, if you need to share passwords, if you just need a place to talk about something when if there's like an emergency situation, have a safe space. And I think that's an easy way to sell things like Signal, even if you guys never end up using it. If they set up an account and they got on it and you added each other as contacts, there's at least a partial chance they'll end up using it from there on out. And so it's still a win in the right direction. Now, inspired by Izzy's comment, I went ahead and just put together a few decent alternatives. We used to use Matrix, and I think Matrix is not a bad place to start. To give you some background on Matrix, it's like decentralized, so you can host your own server, you can join whatever server you want, you can create your communities, and they kind of call them spaces, and then within each space you can set up almost like different channels to try to emulate what Discord does. I will say, I think that if you're used to Discord, Matrix will feel very clunky to use for a lot of people, and it does require a bit more explanation. People have to join a home server on Matrix, so you have to explain to them like which home server to join, and then from there you have to add the space, and then once they're in the space, then you have to kind of grapple with a new UI, but even then, you have to pick a Matrix client in the first place. So there's just more decisions and more things to choose, and there's a little bit more, it just doesn't work the way a lot of people understand social media sites work like. So I think Matrix is a great place to start. See if it works for you. Just expect a little bit of friction for people who've never used it before, because yeah, and it also won't have things like, I don't think Matrix has like voice channels, or it doesn't have all the fancy features that Discord has. I would say Matrix is like closer to IRC, but with like Discord organization, if that makes sense. Now, I'm really simplifying it because Matrix does do a lot more than that, but I think the way I've seen Matrix being used is more akin to an IRC space, like server, more than like Discord, where there's like live streams going on and like audio channels happening and all the different like gamer oriented features. So Mattermost is like, as you can tell, like it's more enterprise focused or even government. So it's definitely an option if you want something a little bit more official. You can probably use this for a business. I think it might be a little bit harder to convince your friends to all use this, but you can kind of see some screenshots here where it's kind of like Slack/Discord looking, but just a little bit more of an enterprise focus. So that is an alternative. Another alternative that I wanted to showcase for you guys is actually Wire. So Wire is, I believe, end-to-end encrypted, yes, and I believe it's open source, if my memory serves. It's not going to be exactly like Discord. I would say it's more similar to like a Slack focus, and this is definitely geared more towards teams. But if you just use Discord for casual things and you don't really need like all the features, I think Wire could actually be a pretty good alternative. And especially if you work in a business of sorts, Wire probably is the best like Slack alternative from what I've been able to find. Still not perfect, still doesn't have all the features, but Revolt.chat is pretty solid. We actually tried it out, and I don't know why I totally blanked on Revolt, but Revolt is like a copy, like literally like a one-to-one replication of Discord. And it's a little bit more private. I believe it's open source, and it actually was extremely nice to use. I don't know what the status of the project is now, but back when I used it a few years ago, it was fantastic. It's an option, so definitely check that out. And then of course, the last option, which we've already kind of touched on, is using like a messenger and just creating a safe space, even if you can't get people away from just, Discord altogether. But that's my big tangent on Discord, why I think, it's not the absolute worst platform in the world to be on. Your life's not going to end if you're on Discord, but there are some serious critical problems with Discord that will probably never be addressed, all three of them. And the closer or the sooner that we as a community can find better alternatives and start utilizing them, the better. This clip came from our main channel, Techlore, where we talk about digital rights and how to keep yourself and the people around you safe online, as well as just reclaiming a little bit more ownership. If you enjoy this content, want more nuance, and want a little bit more of a deep dive, check out our main channel here on the screen or in the description, and we'll see you there.